Welcome to the Movement PT Coffee Cast, where we sit down and talk about physical therapy, health, and whatever else comes to mind during our coffee-infused conversations. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Movement PT Coffee Cast. My name's Dalton, and with me, as always, is my beautifully bearded friend, William. William, how are we doing today?
Doing excellent, Dalton. How are you doing?
I'm not bad. It's interesting. I always wonder, how we came to that intro.
How we came to that intro? That's a really good question.
I think it was just the first episode. I was just I don't really know what to say, so I just went with it, and then now we've been saying it every episode since. I mean, I don't know if it's good or not, or if people like it, but
I think it's funny though. Have we shared how we kind of started the podcast, the first episode?
I think we probably have at some point, but I don't know. Essentially we're just screw it, let's just record an episode with this cheap Amazon mic that we got that day, and just one take, and the rest was history, man.
The rest was history, and we've kind of just gone from there, right?
And we've just rolled with it, and
several coffees later, and here we are.
Yeah, episode 47.
That's a lot of coffee.
What are we going to do when we get to the big 50?
I don't know. Maybe we should get a keg of cold brew or something like that and just have a party.
Get super hyped. Yo, if you guys have any ideas what we should do for our 50th episode,
drop us a comment,
drop us a DM,
let us know.
Hit us in the DM. All right, guys, we're back at it again this week. We're just going to chat. We don't have anybody to interview. It's the Christmas holiday, so everyone's a little bit busy in the Christmas cheer, so we're just going to sit here and have a nice conversation.
We tried getting Santa, but, he said no.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten back to us yet. Talking about setting expectations and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to chat today. So Will, why don't you kind of intro what we're going to talk about?
Well, we obviously chat a little bit here or there on, calls and just talking about clinic experience.
Right.
We've been practicing for a few months now, and something we've really noticed is just kind of the ebbs and flows of the clinic and how it can change in a second, or week to week. There can be such a big difference in how you feel about your job and how you feel about your caseload and the way things are going, and even just your confidence levels. So I think we're just going to talk a little bit about that.
How you're delivering the care as well.
Yeah, for sure. Your entire caseload can change,
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe we'll start. We've had a pretty up and down last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I would say the last 2 weeks have been interesting for me. I would say last week was a tough week, and can't really pinpoint exactly what it was that was making it challenging. But sometimes you get into this place of the imposter syndrome becomes real. It is a real thing, and for whatever reason, you get into a little bit of a cycle of that, and it's interesting to see how it can manifest and carry over into each person you see. So for example, last week, for whatever reason, it was just a tough day, and it just seemed like every person that came in was just not doing well and was just having a hard time. And for whatever reason, I had little confidence in communicating things to people, even though I knew those topics, even some of the topics that I felt I do a good job of understanding and being able to educate and implement the treatment plan that I've set up. I found it very challenging to deliver it, and I think that was just a lack of confidence. And I think it stemmed from there was one or two people on my caseload that I was having trouble with. One of them being someone who had a concussion, which we don't do a lot of concussion stuff in school. We get a little bit of it, but I think it was the lack of confidence in I have an idea of what I can do, you know what I mean? But I think progressing and making a solid treatment plan where I feel comfortable with this person progressing along, I didn't feel that, and then that just made me just get really not confident, and it just manifested into everyone else that I was seeing, and then it just seemed every other person was just having a hard time, and I'm just bro, is this day ever gonna end? Is it gonna end?
It's interesting because we talk about the biopsychosocial model all the time, but we never really apply it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's super huge as well. Like,
It's a good point.
it also comes from within. Like, sometimes, like, we're all human. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Maybe you didn't sleep well.
Yeah.
There's things going on outside of the clinic, socially, just whatever else that's going on. For whatever reason, you just don't feel that great that day. Your mind's not that sharp. And then you get tough cases, or you get 3 assessments and bang, 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 they're just not going that well, one after another.
Yeah.
It can really send you down that spiral.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that happens a lot, and that's okay. And I think a good thing for us is we've been able to have conversations together, but we've also been able to have conversations with other people that are more experienced, that say, like, this is normal, and this is going to continue to happen as you go. And I think once you accept that, it makes the process of getting through it a little easier.
I think it's being willing to ask for help too, because something you might not realize, and I think we've talked about this before, where you might think it went worse than it actually did.
Right. Yeah. Your perception of it is always a little bit worse, I think, than how the client is perceiving it.
So yeah, first impressions are important, but also the second and third impression are. You come back second and third session, and you have a better game plan and a better idea of how to, maybe some things to try, or some conversations to have with the client. You can turn that around.
Right.
Like, you're developing a therapeutic alliance and all that stuff probably happens over a longer period of time than sometimes we think.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. You think you're supposed to get it in the first, like, 1 or 2 sessions, which you may, or you may start building it, but that true connection may not come, like, till a week or 2, or after you see them on the initial. That's a good point. How about you? Before we go into, like, the good week we had, what was some of the things that you struggled with the last week that kind of got you thrown off a bit?
I would say very similarly to you, where you just kind of, for some reason, in a certain day, you have like 1 or 2 assessments right in a row where you just feel you don't feel confident. You feel like you come out of there being uncertain about what's going on with the person, what would be the best way forward, and maybe you didn't feel like you nailed the connection the best on the first day. And I think that's what I struggle with, because I really want to. I really want to feel confident in how I convey my treatment plan with people and going forward. And so when that happens, that kind of just sends you, and then maybe you have someone who comes in and it's flared up. Something happened, they're just not going well. Yeah. And it seems like they always happen in the same day.
Oh, yeah,
or the same week.
All at the same time.
And then, so that kind of like, that's the same sort of idea with me.
Fair. And I think how you're saying that all seems to happen in the same week, I think the opposite can happen, right? So if I flip to like this week that just went by, was a really good week for me in terms of like people that I was seeing on my caseload were doing well. Things started to click. I felt really, really comfortable and confident in like how I was conveying information, how like the program of care was going. People were actually starting to get better. Like, we were starting to see improvements. So the same thing can kind of happen. You can get into that spiral of positivity. And I think the important part is just like, again, just fighting that uncomfortable feeling of like the shitty week, and like you feeling like I'm doing a terrible job. Like, you just kind of got to grind your teeth and get through it, and continue to try to put out the positive energy, being optimistic, not like dictating shitty narratives, like really trying to continue to push for like a positive influence on that person, and eventually I think like you could break through and start to get some positive like signs. And I think it's important for yourself as like a clinician when you have those little wins with yourself. So like, say you're like, honestly, I think it's like, I just nailed that description, or I feel like I very well conveyed that education piece to that person. It's like, like check that off, like pat yourself on the back a little bit and be like, that was good. I had a hard week last week conveying that to someone, and here I am this week being able to deliver that and in an effective way. So like the same way that we try to make our patients or our clients get those small wins, like whether it's like, I was able to reach up to the cupboard this week and not be afraid to do it in comparison to like last week. And we're always like trying to reinforce those little wins, right? Like we have to do the same thing with ourselves, I think, and it can get hard at times because like you're so focused on the end goal and trying to be this perfect, amazing person or clinician that is just not reality sometimes. So I think making sure like you pat yourself on the back is key.
That's true. Let that domino effect carry over. You know? Take that momentum and just let it ride. It's like you'll get suddenly, like this week for some reason, I had probably like 5 or 6 assessments where the people, we just really clicked and they came in and their goals were very clearly laid out. It was like they wanted to get back to the gym and I'm like, say no more, fam. We got this.
Say no. No,
and like in comparison to last week where it just seemed like nobody was coming in with clear goals and it was difficult to try to get us to have a shared goal,
right?
You know, where this week it just seemed to happen a little bit easier, and everybody seemed to be getting a little bit better. You know, not everybody. There's always like 1 or 2, but the majority was going very well. So I think that's something to keep in mind is that you'll have those rough weeks, and we've definitely noticed that, and it's very tough. But you'll also have great weeks, and you'll have clients that just kind of like refuel you and get you fired up for the next ones.
Yeah, and you really have to embrace that. You have to embrace those people. And I think another way to get through it and is important is to have conversations with people. Like find like whether it's a mentor, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be a mentor. Like colleagues, like someone else that like is willing to sit there and like hear you talk about it. Because I think like what really helps us is like me and you talking to each other about these experiences. Like we're legitimately going through the same experience. Like it's slightly different, obviously, like people to people, but like overall we're going through the same thing. So being able to like talk to each other and like realize that like this is normal, or give each other like pieces of advice on like, hey, maybe try this, I've found this works, or just getting it off your chest, I think helps. So like trying to find people, and then obviously if you have people that have more experience than you that are you know nice enough to like take the time to have those conversations, it's nice to like refuel yourself, because it's very easy to get drained out, and I think I've realized that very quickly with working in the clinic for 3 months. It's easy, man, to get caught up in it, and if you don't like take that avenue to try to get that off your chest, like I could see how you could get burnt out very quickly.
To anyone out there, if you want to have a chat about anything, just reach out to us. You know, let us know. There's other fired up people out there that just want to get better and want to learn how to be a better clinician in person. So just shoot us a message, shoot anyone a message.
Yeah.
You know, hop on a call if you're having a tough week. It's not a big deal to do that.
Yeah. When you start to realize that everyone's going through the same thing, it kind of normalizes it a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it. We just wanted to kind of...
It's a quick hitter
hash
today.
It out.
It's like an espresso shot.
It's interesting, man. I feel like you're starting to kind of blend into me. You kind of look like me now.
I know.
We have like the same haircut.
I know.
Your beard's growing out a little bit.
Know.
What's going on?
I'm trying to step my game up, man. The fresh fade with the comb over, you know, trying to be more like Will. All right, guys, that's all we got for today. We just wanted to talk a little bit, a quick hitter. You know, we wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
We hope you guys enjoy the holidays with your families. You know, maybe sip some nice coffee, listen to a couple podcasts. But yeah, we hope you guys have a good time. We've had a blast again doing this for almost a year now. I think we started last January, so we're coming up on a year's time, which is pretty wild.
Coming up on that mark.
Yeah, so we'll leave it there, guys. If you like the podcast, please go to iTunes and leave us a review. We really appreciate your feedback. Again, you guys can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at the MVMT PTs. Shoot us an email at themovementpts@gmail.com. We're always down to talk. And yeah, so we hope you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Peace.